Let's talk about the Ordovician era. The Ordovician era spanned from about 485 million years ago to about 445 million years ago, and the land masses at this point had collided into two supercontinents, the northern supercontinent, Laurentia, and the southern supercontinent, Gondwana, that had settled above the South Pole. Not Pangaea. Pangaea was not the first supercontinent, which means the rest of the world was one big, lovable ocean with such lovable creatures inside. Vertebrates like the little haiku-ichthyes had evolved into larger fish like Cephalaspis that had a slightly more armored head to give it some protection against predators, but most importantly, it had developed this vibrational sense as it was a bottom feeder in shallow seas to help it locate predators. This primitive sense of vibration would go on to become our sense of touch. As for the invertebrates, well, they didn't need to get smart, they just needed to get big, and big they did. Enter Brontoscorpio. Brontoscorpio was a sea scorpion that grew to be 1 meter long, and it hunted vertebrates like Cephalaspis. But even Brontoscorpio fell prey to something even bigger. Here we go. You will put respect on the name of Pterygotus, also an underwater sea scorpion that grew to be 3 meters long. This is not 3 meters, this is for dramatic effect. Pterygotus did not have a stinger like Brontoscorpio. Instead, its tail had evolved this armored fin-like structure to help propel it while swimming through these shallow seas. But it doesn't need a stinger, because Pterygotus is, to date, the largest arthropod that ever lived. Swimming above these reef dwellers were orphacones, the distant ancestors of cuttlefish and squid, and they had evolved these gigantic pointed shells filled with air so that they could float in shallow seas. And some of these things were as long as a truck. Yeah, but something much more significant was happening, because the Ordovician presents the earliest evidence for the first land-dwelling plants that had rooted themselves along shallow coastlines, because they had evolved this new technique of growing upright to be closer to the sun, making plants the first permanent land-dwelling residents of planet Earth. But I do have to say, we have strong reason to believe that the first animals that made their way onto land, if only for a brief moment, were the horseshoe crabs. Everyone give it up for the horseshoe crabs. They really are the best. But the Ordovician era ended with the first of the big 5 mass extinctions, and next video, we're gonna talk about it.